Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Gyle here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. It's that time of the week once again, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, Monday afternoon, and to that effect, I thought we'd celebrate with some classic action because A, classic maps and classic games are amazing, and B, I don't have any other replays, so that's what we're doing. It's actually, I've got to say, the replay submissions from the average Joes are pretty good. You guys are pulling your weight, it has to be said. But I don't know what I've done or said to offend the pros. Probably a lot of things. But I'm just not getting the submissions from over 1,500 players, hardly ever. And it's kind of a problem because though I love getting the average Joe's submissions, it's probably fair to say that only about 5 or 10% of those are actually watchable kind of cast-worthies, where it's more like sort of 35-40% from the guys over the 1,500 mark. So please, please, please keep those replays coming in, guys. I do still want to be getting the average Joe's ones, don't get me wrong, but I need more high-level submissions. Please prove to me that you pros are still actually playing the game. Anyway, on to today's game. It's going to be a classic match, and it's not just going to be classic FAF. This is going to be classic old-school GPG stuff coming away, and it's going to take place on Open Palms. So let's go over to the game zone and see how they got on many years ago in the good old days of GPG. Awesome. And those of you who are astute enough to read the opening titles or to look at the top right of the UI right now, and who are actually old-faggish enough to remember these guys, we've got a couple of serious players here. Down here in the bottom right for Seraphim, it's Salui, and I want to say it's Regal Purple, but of course it's not. The color changes slightly different here for the options of colors, slightly different in the old school GPG days. They were changed in FAF to accommodate the larger games which you can play, of course, 12-player games instead of 8-player games, so we needed a larger color spectrum. But nonetheless, for our purposes, we can call it Regal Purple. Anyway, he's going Seraphim, and correct me if I'm wrong, those of you who are old enough to remember, I always thought Salui was a either an Aeon or a Cybrin guy. I don't remember him being Seraphim. Maybe he changed up later on. Answers on a postcard. I'd love to hear from you if you knew the answer to that one. That'd be super interesting. Anyway, he's opening first and second land, and his opponent up here, another one of the kind of core big five. It's Mephistophile in another type of green we don't really see anymore. We'll call it Spetsnaz green. And he's going Cybrin opening first land, but much more consistent with the meta. He's moving to the Hydro with his ACU, going to plonk those land factories down and join that. This is a much more common build that you would see these days. Salui, of course, electing to keep that build capacity in the core nook there of his main base. You really don't see that so often on Open Palms anymore. Not that I'm here to criticize the great Salui, who has achieved much more in his short life than I ever will in my long, hopeless one. But anyway, he's now on the move. Hydro will be in place. He's coming to assist now. Assist the engineer now. Actually, no, he's changed his mind. He's already beelining straight the way up here to grab a couple of those mexes. And that's actually quite nice because it looks like Meph's going the other way. Always nice when they choose opposite directions. It extends the gameplay, or I always find it extends the game when they don't pick the same size. So Meph heading out west and Salui heading out east. Salui's got really pretty good Selen coverage as well. You can take a look at that. That's going to afford him some nice intel there. I'll let him know what's going on. Meph's isn't too bad either, but not quite as far forward, so he's not going to be quite so forewarned of what's going on as Salui will be. I love this little engineer. He's got his own mole and mantis protective detail. I thought they were going to leap into action there, but that's Selen minding his own business. It's just there to report back. He's not there on engineer snagging duty, least not for the moment. We do have an air factory in play for Mephistophile. He's already producing inties out of it, and we do have an air factory in play as well for Salui. That was the second one to emerge on the Hydro. So both these guys went first, second, third land, fourth air, I believe. First, second, third, fourth. Yeah, that seems to be the way they've done it. So they're consistent with each other in that side of things for the build order, just building in slightly different places. See how they're actually doing on eco in the early side of the games. Well, bottlenecking power hard for Mef. He is building planes. He's actually building skyhooks at the moment, so he's probably going for the side plateau drops. But still, he seems to be around the 36 mass mark. Salui around the 32. Not a lot in it, as you wouldn't expect there to be at the 5.5 minute mark. Salui, though, looking very aggressive with his ACU, pressuring the northeastern starting location slightly. He's certainly around the edge of the plateau, kind of slightly north of it. But it could be about to back up. He's decided that was a little bit too risky. Don't blame him at all. You think the equivalent to that would be Mef down here somewhere. But he's deciding not to do that either. Good thing he's around, though, to defend these 4 mexes, which he does. Knocks aside those THAMs. And you can see he's managed to land 1 engineer down on the southwestern plateau, and another one is en route, but he's taking the skyhook well out of harm's way and sending it around the back. In the meantime, though, nice little Mantis force there in the central plateau, knocking aside 2 of the mexes. Salui trying to bear down on those units with his ACU. Might not be in time, though, to save the other 2 mexes. That'll be 4 mexes picked up there for Mef. Very nicely done indeed. Always think it's a nice place to control the central plateau on open palms. The fact that Salui's got his ACU in the middle there couldn't be a bad thing at all, but Mef with the upgrade to T2 slightly early in this one. 7 minutes, certainly earlier than Salui, who doesn't seem to have gone for that yet. It's not super early, 7 minutes, but it's definitely considerably earlier than Salui. All T1 for him, but those 4 mexes have all been taken out. Salui won't have any problems there in brushing aside the rest of those Mantis. Take a look and see how that affects things. That other engineer did make successful landfall on the northeastern plateau. That's a nasty group of THAMs that have affected a cheeky little run-by up here at the top and nailed all 4 of the mexes at the northeast starting location as well. In fact, they're going to push on and try and grab the rear ones too. It doesn't look like they've got enough stuff on the ground to deal with it until you realize that there is actually a Rhino in the mix as well. So Tech 2 starting to hit the front lines now for Mef. We'll see if that's effective in any way in just a moment, I'm sure. Salui throwing an upgrade on his commander there. And what we'll be seeing from him, gun or T2. A little bit of a air fracas over here in the west. That's going to be won successfully by Mef, who has grabbed both of the side plateaus, but Salui looking stronger in the middle. So pretty close all in all, but a nice decent run by a small platoon of THAMs there. Going to continue, I imagine, on around the back. That's 3, 4, 5, 6 more mexes potentially in jeopardy. Another 2 down here are also working on some of the other mexes. They should switch up to try and finish off that mex. Not going to manage it, though. The Mantis that turn up successfully take them out and save that last one. Salui has completed the upgrade, and it looks like it's on the left arm, so I'm guessing that's engineering suite. Yes, it is. And immediately starts building point defense, wants to lock down the central plateau. I don't blame him. Mef still pretty close to this with his ACU. He's probably going to have to back up. He can't contend with that much T1 spam, and as soon as that point defense is completed, he certainly won't be able to contend with that. He has got some T2 in the area, but that's a large ball of T2 over in the east. And Salui needs to be a little bit careful here. He doesn't want to throw too much energy into the center and ignore the flanks. It's already the eastern hydro's gone down there for Salui, and now it's a bunch of T1 power plants that are also in danger. There's a lot of units that Mef's got, a lot of T2 units. Could potentially clean out all of this, but doesn't want to sit there and eat Zui fire and throw away his advantage. Onwards he continues to press. And yet more point defense being queued up by Salui. He seems to have a little bit of a point defense creep going on, which could work in his favor if he can cut this ball off from reinforcements. He might be able to deal with it and then cement Mephistophile into his base area. Left taking a wide berth, trying to avoid as much as he can of that point defense return fire. And now a little bit of a small, modest push in the west from Meph. Just some Mantis on mechs eradication duty. And this has been the most successful tank mission of all time. It's taken out so much mass, and it's now bearing down on the western starting location. So Louis' attention elsewhere. He can definitely take that out without any difficulty at all. And Meph still operating pretty freely over here in the east, and continually managing to reinforce it with yet more T2. And that could be a wide open door into the side of Sir Louis' base, who's got a lot of T1 factories. Still no land tech at all. He is going for air tech though, 35-40% done and climbing on that air factory. 12 minutes gone in this game so far. Meph could do with presenting a slightly straighter face of his troops to the enemy there. Feels like he just doesn't quite have enough. He should have gone in there though and massacred. If he could have got in there and killed off all of that build capacity, that would really have hurt. But Notha's the first thing to come out of that T2 air factory. Has he got any bangers? He's got one banger in there, certainly. If we take that out, then it's completely vulnerable to air threat. But certainly air dominance in the hands of Sir Louis, who's managed to bag the southern or southwestern plateau as well. Attention elsewhere on that one. He's dropped off engineers, he's built a land factory, and has yoinked that out from under Mephistophile's control. So nice snag there from him. He's continuing to press with this small platoon over in the west as well, now down to about a unit. Land factory probably about to get finished off. Mephistophile dispatching some units to try and deal with it. So Louis trying to create some breathing room down here in the east, but still T1 only. Louis picking up some of the slack there. That really isn't enough to finish that off. But Sir Louis heading out east with his ACU now. Wants to nullify this threat, which has been the only really dangerous thing on the map for him in the last 5-10 minutes or so. Over in the west though, a new threat emerges, another small ball of T2 pushing southeasterly. And now threatens that southwestern starting location and potentially the flanking mexes as well. All of the reinforcements for the moment going up to meet that original ball of T2 up here for Sir Louis. That could be a wide open door to attack from the west. Sir Louis anchoring down the position with yet more point defense. Can cut this side off and stop these T2 run-bys. Could be in a very good position indeed. So Louis relying on a much more static strategy in this one. Mephistophile much more mobile. This roaming band of T2, usually you'd say static. I suppose it depends on the map, but usually you'd say static often loses out to mobile. Have to see how it goes. You can never count Sir Louis out. Notha getting shot down there by a banger. So it's a nice unit composition in here for Mephistophile. Salui gets the next round of reinforcements in, and this time sends them out west to defend that flank of the base. Cheeky little engineer drop to the southern starting location there for Meph. Gonna pick up those mexes. Doesn't matter if he holds on to it for the whole game, but can't miss out on 8 mass per tick for doing virtually nothing. That's too valuable. Now Hoplite's going to continue to press around the back of the Nook. The back 3 mexes have already been taken out. They were claimed. They've already been taken out. I think there's this little merry band of Mantis back here. They've made a circuit as well. It always seemed peculiar to me how difficult these mexes are to retain control of behind your main base on open palms, but it's such an easy thing to do. Send a small detail of units, and that's where the intel really comes in importance in this game, much more so than in other games. Hoplite's bearing down on this position. That's all that's left of that pack. So Louis done a nice job of catching up and dealing with these units, and you really do get the feeling that T2 units were underpowered. The changes that have come out more recently out of FAF have gone a long way to improving the game. It was just too easy back then to sit on T1 for large periods of time. But we've got an upgrade coming to T3 for Salui, straight on that air factory, so he's ignoring T2 land altogether, going straight for T3. That could be quite interesting. I don't see how he has the power to get building anything of any significance out of it. As soon as he starts building ASFs or anything, that could be problems. He could just be going for the extra build capacity, of course. See how that turns out for him. 47 mass per tick in for Salui. 43 for Meph. Should have looked at the reclaim as well. Nearly 5k banked for Meph, whereas nearly 13k banked for Salui. That's surely going to be instrumental. Vastly different numbers there in favour of Salui. That hydrocarbon over the east was rebuilt. Now taking a couple of volleys in the meantime. But look at this large engagement brewing, and Meph is going to get the better of that all day. So many hoplites in that ball. 34 hoplites. Nothing
under attack
that your small ball of Zoos and Thams can do about that. But T3 is complete. And surely that must be painful on the power front. Well, not really. You gotta give it to the pros. They know exactly how far to push and when to build, so they're not running out of the resource they need. Very nice work from him. He is working on some T2 power. I'm surprised he was able to do that. I wouldn't be surprised actually if I got some of the values mixed up. They might have been different back in 3599 days. It might have been easier to build ASFs. The power increase might have been a more recent balance change. I'm sure a pro can enlighten us on that front. But these ASFs are going to brutalize Mephistophile's interceptors now. Just a handful of them are going to single-handedly dismantle Meph's Air Force. And now we've got a strat bomber on the field as well, with air control firmly in Salui's hands. What, if anything, is Meph going to do about it? He's not even working on T2 air. He's got a lot of T1 air factories, but no tech at present or on the way. It's a shame as well, because he's making such quality progress down here with this land force. I think he could send it right in. He's a bit tentative. He's concerned about the last few attacks and how well they've gone, but he needs to just send that in. ASF still working on cleaning out the skies. A second strat bomber in play now, third on the way. 22 minutes gone in this one. And I don't know how Mef is going to contend with the arrival of Strat Bombers. A volley away from the two of them. He'll be aware of their presence now. Has that prompted something reactionary? Yes, it has. That went up to T2 incredibly quickly, and now T3 is on the way. 33% complete. So Louis doesn't want Mef to catch up with the air game. He needs to send one of these Strat Bombers in to eradicate all of the build capacity around that. Of course, he's not going to be privy to the same kind of information that we are, but first of all, he's much more concerned about the land threat encroaching on the perimeter of his base, so he's going to keep those strats on over for a couple of passes. But actually, is he moving off now? Has he decided that his base is dead? That could be dangerous. He's now going to focus on Mephistophile's comm, who's currently on an upgrade and unable to move. The shields go down. Strat Bombers come in for a second pass over the top. Both land, taking him down to 5,500. If this doesn't work, it is game in favor of Mephistophile. Meph wants to finish his upgrade. Could it be something that's going to add a bunch of HP onto the comm? Oh dear. And there he goes. And that's so close. If that hadn't have worked, if he'd have just managed to get T3 air out a little earlier and could have shot down those strats, what a different game that would have been. But phenomenal play from Salui. Nicely judged with those upgrades at the right time. So Louis wins. Good stuff. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that. As always, more to come from me in the future. In the meantime, as always, stay well and stay safe. This is Gyle, signing out.